According to the story, Disney once attempted to open a resort in Emerald Isle, North Carolina. Called Mowgli's Palace, it allegedly drew its inspiration from the Jungle Book. Lush and green, it was meant to showcase the fine attention to detail for which all of the Disney parks and resorts are known. As Abandoned by Disney would have it though, the project was fraught from the start, with locals disapproving of everything from the resort's theme to the fact that a major corporation now owns so much of Emerald Island's land. Despite the outcry, however, the resort was built anyway, and it even got as far as opening up for business. But then, it all just stopped. And that's where this story begins. What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. I know I've been gone for a while, I've just been busy with other things outside of YouTube. And now that I'm back, I'm going to continue sort of the story from my last video, which is creepypastas. I mentioned one in particular that I was going to talk about in my next video, which is Abandoned by Disney. And it is one of the first, if not the first, creepypastas that I've ever read, in my time as a creepypasta-er, you could say. And like as I said in the introduction, it's pretty much it's about an island that Disney built. Not exactly, my god, I'm off to a really bad start. It's basically about a resort that Disney built on an island that was supposed to be sort of themed to, Mowgli, the Jungle Book and that sort of thing. So it was supposed to be like all lush and sort of like wildlife, tropical forest thing. And it was actually a really good idea, the executives were really into it, and they actually funded the park to be built. And it actually was, starting to come to fruition, except one day they just stopped production completely. They just stopped building it. They just left it abandoned. And it literally became a ghost town, so to speak, And it was really pretty crazy because, the park had potential. It had a really great amount of potential. And, I personally would have been one of the people who would have visited it if I could, because it seemed really awesome. And I love the Jungle Book and everything related to it. But the creepypasta, Abandoned by Disney, pretty much picks up on a reporter who goes to investigate on the island, and he finds it completely in ruins, just tattered and torn and shreds of everything, things just destroyed, everything all messed up. And it was actually really creepy due to the fact that, there was nothing there at all. There were signs that there used to be people there, but it was completely abandoned, like entirely. There was no sign of civilization at all, no signs of life, except for maybe one or two animals. There was this one point where he tried to photograph a snake, like what he thought was a snake totem, and then once he flashed the camera, it started moving. It slithered away, and the snake was so big, according to him, that by the time it was pretty much halfway into the grass that was behind the clearing, the tail was still on the podium, it was that big. I personally would have ran the fuck out of there as fast as I fucking could, but, thing is, what makes the story so creepy is that, there's so much history behind it, I'm pretty sure that it's a real story, I don't think it's even a fictional take on anything. I think it really happened because there are photos on the internet, Of course, people can cry Photoshop and all of that kind of crap, but, I like to believe that there are things in this world that we can't explain, and I think Abandoned by Disney is one of the best stories there is, involving that. And it's a really long story. I'm going to leave the link in my description, but it's worth a read. It's a really great story, truly awesome, and it's really deserving of anyone's attention, especially if you like scary things. And he continues to move throughout the park, seeing how everything is just so dilapidated, and he comes to the mascot room, which is where they hang all the mascot costumes, Pluto, Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, everyone. And he describes it as being something really morbid, almost like pretty much like those costumes, the mascots. The way that their heads are on top or over their bodies on some kind of coat rack, it looks like they've hung themselves. It looks like they're hanging from a noose, and it's just really creepy. And the light just flickers on and off. It's a really creepy atmosphere. It's like if you've ever played Amnesia, you might know what I'm talking about. It's really creepy, and it really makes you think, it's a really good story. It's really worth a read, and it's just awesome. And at one point he finds on the floor in the center towards the end, he finds this Mickey Mouse mascot, a costume, and it's just on the ground, just lying there, lifeless, like someone killed it or something. And it's really unnerving, and he goes to take a photo of it apparently, and it starts moving. It gets up, it actually stands up and looks at him and says in what he described as the most realistic Mickey Mouse impression ever, "Wanna see my head come off?" And he starts trying to take his head off, and some weird yellow ooze or blood or something starts dripping out all over the place, and he just bolts the fuck out of there, you know. And he sees a sign painted on top of that room as he runs out that says "Abandoned by God," and that's pretty much where it ends. That's sort of like a basic summary of what happens, you know. You guys really should check out the story. Just go in my description, the link is there to the original story written by Creepypasta on a forum thread. And it's really worth a read, you know. Just don't read it at night because you probably won't be able to sleep very well afterwards. That's pretty much it. I mean, it could very well be. If it's not a true story, I'm going to be disappointed. And if that's the case, it is the most realistic creepypasta ever written because of just how detailed it is, you know. And being one of the first creepypastas that I've ever read, I was really convinced that it was real. And it just had such an effect on me, you know. It had such an everlasting effect. To this day, it still does. It still creeps me out a bit. But I like reading it. There are more expansions on it. There's part 2, part 3. There's a whole bunch of parts. But only the first one is really worth your attention. It's really awesome. It's great. I love it so much. And I guess that's pretty much it. In case you guys haven't noticed already, there's a new format on my YouTube channel now. I'm recording with my camera. I decided to stop using my cell phone. It was just way too tiring and too annoying. And I'm going to start editing the videos. I'm going to start taking this whole thing more seriously, you know, that I have more free time. And there's going to be a whole lot of changes in my channel throughout now, you know. I've hit 30 videos recently. Now from 40 and 50 onwards, I want to try something really different. I want to try taking YouTube seriously, you know, for a change. So please, if you don't mind, subscribe to my channel. Watch my last 2 videos here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.